Have you ever wondered what would happen if a wild animal trusted a human completely? What if that animal followed you like a child, played like a friend, and loved you like a family? Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel Let's Learn with Lizzie, where English is made simple and easy. Today we are going to focus on a chapter called Mijbil the Otter by Gavin Maxwell, which answers these questions very beautifully. This is not just a lesson from your textbook, it is a true story filled with emotion, adventure, humor, and deep understanding of animal life. As we move through this chapter, remember one thing: this is a story of love, responsibility, and respect between two very different species. About the author, Gavin Maxwell was not an ordinary writer. He was a Scottish naturalist, broadcaster, and wildlife expert born in 1914. Unlike other writers who imagined stories, Maxwell lived with animals, studied them closely, and observed their behavior very patiently. He chose to live in remote and wild places far away from cities so that he could understand animals in their natural environment. Mijbil the Otter is taken from his famous book Ring of Bright Water, which is completely based on his real life experiences. This makes the chapter authentic, reliable, and deeply emotional. His writing combines scientific observation, personal experience, and genuine affection for animals. That is why the story feels so real to the readers. Moving on to the introduction of the story, Mitchell the Otter is an autobiographical account, meaning Maxwell is narrating his own life. The story describes how he raises an otter as a pet, something very rare and challenging. Through this experience, the author highlights the deep emotional bond between humans and animals, the difficulty of domesticating a wild creature, and unexpected adventures that come with it, especially during the travel. The tone of the story is humorous because of Mijbil's playful behavior, affectionate because of Maxwell's love towards Mijbil, informative because we learn about otters. This balance makes the chapter enjoyable and meaningful. Moving to the background and setting of the story begins in Iraq, where Gavin Maxwell lived for some time. Key locations include Basra, where Mijbil was brought, Tigris Marshes, the natural home of otters, London, where Maxwell later settles. This setting creates a powerful contrast. On one side, we have the marshes and rivers where otters live freely. On the other side, we have crowded cities and airplanes. This contrast helps us understand one major idea of the chapter. Wild animals belong to nature, and human environments can be confusing and stressful for them. That's the reason later on in his life, Maxwell moved to his native place, Camisfrina, Scotland, where he lived happily with the otter. Now let's focus on the main characters of this chapter. The narrator Gavin Maxwell is shown as an animal lover, a responsible pet owner, a patient and caring human being. He never treats Mitchell like an object. He treats him like a living, feeling being. Mitchell or Mitch is intelligent, playful, curious. He learns very quickly and adapts to new situations, showing remarkable intelligence. Other characters include an Iraqi friend who helps Maxwell in order to get the otter, airline staff and passengers whose reactions add humor and tension. Then we are having the air hostess. Each character helps move the story forward. Why Maxwell wanted an otter? Maxwell's pet dog had died. This left him deeply lonely, creating an emotional void in his life. Instead of choosing another common pet, he decided to keep an otter, an animal he had studied earlier. This shows that his choice was not impulsive, it was thoughtful and meaningful. At that time, otters were not kept as pets in England, which proves that Maxwell's interest was not about common comfort or fashion. It was about understanding wildlife very deeply. How Mitchell came into Maxwell's life. An Iraqi friend arranged an otter from the local marshes. Mitchell was delivered to Maxwell in a sack by two local men. The detail is very important here because it quickly highlights how wild animals were treated like objects without any concern for their emotions. Maxwell named the otter Mijbil or Midge, forming an emotional bond from the very beginning. Now let's see some facts about Midge's name because it's very important in this chapter. Mijbil was named after the Arabic word for otter. Over the time, this small otter became so famous that his species was named after Maxwell's otter. This proves one thing very clearly that Mijbil was not just a pet, he became a symbol of human animal connection. Lutrogale perspicillata maxwelli. This is the scientific name of the species after Maxwell's otter Mijbil. It's quite interesting, right? Initially, Mijbil was scared and confused, but gradually he understood that Maxwell meant no harm. Soon he followed Maxwell everywhere like a small child following a parent. This shows that animals can sense kindness, safety, and affection. Trust once built became the foundation of their relationship. Mitchell's intelligence is very much highlighted in the story. Why? Because his playfulness was weird at the same time, something to be noticed with awe. Mitchell showed extraordinary intelligence. He learned to open tabs, play with objects, invent games on his own. This ability to solve problems made Maxwell realize that otters are highly intelligent, similar to dogs and dolphins. The chapter challenges the idea that animals act only on instinct. Mitchell's love for water was very true. Why? Because water was Mitchell's true home. He loved splashing, rolling, sliding, and playing endlessly. This behavior confirms an important truth. Animals cannot be happy when separated from their natural environment. Now let's focus on preparation for the journey to England. Maxwell planned to return England with Mitchell from Basra. British Airlines had strict rules against the animals, so Mitchell was packed in a small box which made him anxious. This part shows the difficulty of transporting animals. Maxwell had a box made and put Mijbil into it an hour before departure so that Porter could get accustomed to the confined space. While Maxwell went for a quick meal, Mijbil attempted to escape and tore the metal lining of the box to shreds. When Maxwell returned, he found blood dripping from the air holes. Mitchell was exhausted and injured from his struggle. With only minutes to spare, Maxwell hastily removed all sharp edges from the box to prevent further injury and put the now unconscious or exhausted Otter back inside. Maxwell hired a taxi that sped through the streets of Basra like a ricocheting bullet to reach the airport just in time for the flight. Maxwell boarded with the box on his lap. He explained the situation to a very sympathetic air hostess, whom he later called the very queen of her kind, for her kindness and for suggesting he could keep the pet on his knees. But anyhow, Mitchell managed to get out and caused a panic in the aircraft. Passengers were frightened. Maxwell finally calmed Mitchell using his voice and touch. This shows a strong emotional bond and trust between Mitchell and Maxwell. In London, people started staring at Mijbil in confusion. They mistook him for many animals, revealing their lack of wildlife awareness. Sometimes they called Mijbil as a baby seal, sometimes a squirrel, a strange dog. And the most amusing guess was once when a man asked Maxwell what that thing actually is, which highlights people's lack of knowledge about the wildlife, and this adds humor while also delivering an important message. The relationship between Maxwell and Mitchell is built on trust, love, patience. Maxwell never tried to dominate Mitchell. He allowed him to be himself, and Mitch responded with loyalty. Let's now focus on some of the major themes of the chapter. The chapter focuses on themes like human animal bond, love and compassion, freedom versus domestication, adventure and exploration, responsibility towards pet. The central message given in this chapter is very clear that true companionship comes from understanding, not ownership. This chapter teaches us that animals have emotions and intelligence. They deserve respect, not control. Love and kindness can cross species. The writing of this chapter is very different because it is written in first person point of view, making the language very simple, humorous, and realistic. The story stays with us long after we finish reading it. Mijbil the Otter is not just a lesson, it is a reminder to treat animals with compassion, responsibility, and respect. And in order to conclude this chapter, let me just highlight few areas. Mijbil the Otter is a heart touching, real life story which combines adventure, humor, and emotion. It teaches us to respect animals and nature. It leaves the readers with a deep emotional impact. And that's it for today. If you like this video, hit the like, share, and subscribe button and follow for more.